All right. Episode 29 of the Long Haul podcast. This time around, I'm going to be talking with my buddy Carrie about deployment deep phase. Another Moonday post, dude. A bit later than usual because we actually wanted to cast yesterday when it came out and then we didn't manage.
Yeah, because Valve chose like that awkward hour when we're used to seeing stuff coming out at like 7 or 8 p.m. and they'll go like, yeah, we'll kind of throw it out at 11, because why not?
Yeah, I was streaming for a couple of hours and then I just gave up because I actually didn't think that they would post anything because I was just thinking like there's no way that that Valve is gonna post stuff every single Monday or Moonday, but I guess they are
Dude,
now. Now it's 3 times in a row.
Monday is the day now. Because screw Thursdays, Monday's the day now.
Yeah, so I think now it constitutes a proper pattern. So now I'm pretty positive that we're going to be receiving news every Monday. So I think that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I think actually also Legends of Runeterra does this, where they release stuff on every Monday, right? So I don't know if it's some sort of competition or if they just wanted to grab the Moonday meme.
I was just looking at the
Yeah.
chat and seeing Joey just destroying something.
So, all right. So I think, yeah, it's really good that they are giving us stuff. So let's have a look, man. Did you have the opportunity to read the whole thing through, or is it going to be a fresh
No,
read for you?
no. I woke up and you said, "Oh my god, the post is out," and I'm saying, "Okay, let's cast." This is happening. This
All
is
right.
happening right now.
So we're just gonna wing it. I read it before, but only this morning. Like I said, I went to bed. I couldn't. So it's been a few hours. I've seen in a few discords that people have been discussing this already for a long time, but whatever. So they start off by saying that they have good news, some more good news, and some bad news. The good news is that after our previous post, we received a deluge of emails. Well, that was obvious, right? The more good news, it's high quality feedback, and people clearly have spent a lot of time thinking about it. Yeah, we've been thinking about this shit for a year.
1 year? I don't know. I think that's enough.
Yeah. The bad news, we're slow readers, so it's taking us a bit more time than we thought to thoroughly comb through all of your emails. But we are a determined bunch, so they say that they want to read everything and plus minus potentially answer. So that would be cool, but whatever. I sent a couple of emails. I haven't had any answer, but it's fine. Like as long as they read it, that's fine.
Because they know it's you, they're gonna make you wait.
Nah. All right, so let's have a look because this post is actually quite juicy. There's going to be a lot of stuff to talk about in here. One of the first heavy RNG components that players faced was the initial board setup, the deployment, or the flop as it used to be called, would randomly deploy the first set of heroes and lane creeps. Let's take an in-depth look at how deployment has changed. So not much to say there. Board layout. So there's this picture. First of all, before I even read, notice that the picture designates towers as having 30 HP.
So much for 20.
Yeah, so they said that they were going to scale everything down 60%. That would be correspondingly about 24, I think, points of HP if they had done it perfectly. So 30 is actually probably more around 70 or 80%. I don't know exactly, but...
Oh god, I haven't read it, so just please don't tell me that they got rid of tier 2 towers. That would suck.
What do you mean, the ancient? I don't think they say anything about the ancient in this post. Well, let's see. I think it's important that the towers are written as 30 because, as we will see, the creeps and the stats have been decreased, as they said before.
Yeah,
ones. Yeah, so since we know that the creeps are going to be 1/1s, this is already something that, to me... So before, as it was with 40 HP and the creeps at 2 power, it would take about 20 hits. Well, it would take exactly 20 hits from creeps to destroy a tower if a hero never touched the tower. And now it takes 30. So to me, that gives an indication that the creeps are much weaker. and potentially also that the games are going to be longer, right? Because if it takes a creep much longer to kill the tower, then the creeps are going to be less relevant, and or potentially the game's going to be longer.
So that throws out the window your first. What you said you were gonna be really. It was gonna really suck if the games were gonna go super fast. So
Yeah,
this indicates that the games won't be as fast as you feared for.
yeah. It seems at least that the games potentially might be longer. At the same time, there seems like there's going to be more hero mobility and so on. But
See,
so I'm not,
but
I'm
that
not
goes
sure.
that favors my theory. If the games are going to be longer, can you imagine a game going longer by 30, 30, 30, and then have a tier 2 tower? I don't know. Might happen, but
No, I think they'll probably just leave it as is: 3 lanes, tier one towers, and the ancient. I think that's fine. The question that remains here is how much HP the ancient will have, because it was 80, so probably it comes down to 60 or 50 or something. I will also say they end the post right at the end. They say that tower health is dependent upon the game mode. So yeah, I mean, we cannot strictly interpret this, but I'm assuming this will be the standard thing, right? So maybe for draft it will be a bit less, but I assume that if they are putting it as 30, that's probably what is going to be like the main constructed mode is going to be 30. That's my presumption, but of course, like we can't really presume anything, and the game is in alpha, etc., etc.
mm-hmm.
Now, the second thing you'll notice in this picture is that there's 5 slots in each lane. And they say the board still has 3 lanes, but each lane is exactly 5 slots. The slots also have a fixed position, so adding units on either end of the lane doesn't shift the positions of any units. So because that was happening before, right? So that doesn't happen anymore. There are some rules for deploying on top of units if the lane gets too full, or if there's just something in your way, which you'll find at the end of the post. So what do you think about the slots, dude?
So they're not gonna make it change from left to right, but you're still gonna be allowed to have like 10 mobs on the table, right? Because what they say each is exactly 5 slots. Are they saying you can only have 5 units? I don't understand.
I
That's
think
something that
what they are
it's
saying
not
is
clear.
that there's going to be 5 units in each lane maximum, and then there's been rumors that there will be cards that will allow you to extend that number. But base scenario right now, you can put 5 units in each lane. That will include the heroes, that will include the creeps, and as we will find out later, if you want to take a slot that has already been occupied, you can do. It's just that you'll have to sacrifice the unit to do so. So
that pretty much kills all the board spamming with creatures that we used to do.
yeah, I am very much. I'm just gonna come out and say I'm very concerned about what they are introducing here. Like, of course, it's really hard to judge until we play the game. I don't want to be a naysayer or something, but I don't like this, man. I don't like this. Even if there are cards that will allow you to change the rules, so to say, cards that will allow you to go wide, this limitation just kind of nerfs strategies where you go wide, and this probably means that basically you're just going to want to go like higher with the heroes, so make your heroes in your units really strong instead of as a strategy trying to go wide and try to go around your opponents. If it's limited, I mean, if you have 2 heroes in a lane plus a creep drops there, you've only got 2 empty slots, right? So
Yeah.
so if you would, for example, play a dimensional portal, one of those creeps is going to just disappear.
Is it, or will you just only create
Well,
one creature?
we don't know exactly. I think that the excess creeps likely would just disappear. What they mention later on is that if you're deploying a hero on top of a creep, the creep dies, or that if you want to deploy a hero on top of another hero, you will bounce that hero. But we'll get there.
I'm not happy. Not happy. Also, this is like a big screw you to Kana. They're gonna rework the hero for sure.
Probably, I mean, Kana, Vano, Prelex,
Yeah.
Because even a Veno, like, okay, even a Veno, you have a creep in the lane, you drop a Veno. You have 3 remaining slots. If you use Veno's signature card, which creates 2 other Veno wards, then you've only got 1 free slot. If another creep drops there next round, then his passive wouldn't work. So these heroes have to be reworked, I think. I don't feel like these heroes would work in their current form.
Oh, they've been changing it all from what they say, so I expect some heroes to even disappear.
Yeah.
Well, for example, either Kenna is going to be totally reworked, or she's just going to disappear.
Yeah, I mean, in her current form, her card is basically useless. So, yeah, imagine that's going to be a huge rework, and therefore it's kind of difficult to assess. To me, it's just one of the things is that the one of the pillars for me of 1.0 was that there were no limits, right? There's no limits to your hand. There's no limits to how wide you can go. There's no limits to how many spells you can play. There's no limits to anything. And I, for one, I feel like that's a good thing. Is it limiting your, maybe, like, is it difficult to adapt to mobile? Maybe, yes, but that's not what is important here. What is important is that you make a good game, and I don't like this. I've played other games with board limitations, and I always feel like it's unnecessary.
You touched a topic there that most of us are probably not taking into consideration, is that this clearly is more portable friendly, right?
For sure.
When you had like 20 mobs on the lane, you know that phones wouldn't be able to handle that. It will be too much for it. This clearly points that they're trying to make it mobile friendly.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, at the end, again, I don't want to come off as too pessimistic. Like, that's fine, and it's gonna appeal to more people. I'm just starting to become slightly concerned that it might not appeal to me. And once again, this is something we've said before. We've seen other games do these mechanics. I really don't see the need to. I don't see the need to design in the same way as other games have already designed, right? Why not keep the game unique and different, and then worry about the mobile problem later? Yeah, I'm concerned here. I really don't like this adjustment here, because I think it limits your strategy, it limits your gameplay, and all in all, it will just limit the possibilities of what you can do within the game. And I think overall that seems to be a negative. And I haven't had enough time to think a lot about this. I don't know what the positive implications of this are. We'll talk about the hero bouncing and stuff later. That might be okay. That might be a nice mechanic. And at the same time, if the heroes are going to be more mobile and jump around, maybe it becomes less relevant what I'm complaining about. But yeah, in principle, it feels to me like they're restricting the strategy of going wide significantly, and I don't like it.
I'm just laughing on the inside because people were crying for Annihilation to be nerfed. Well, they did it. They nerfed it. Now you can only kill 5 mobs.
That's true. That is definitely true, man. Well, let's see. Maybe they make Annihilation destroy all 3 lanes, and then it will be OP again.
No. Do not give them that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
That's not Carolina. That's called start from scratch.
But that's a good point that you bring up. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I feel like Annihilation probably is going to be overall also less powerful. So if I find a common line right now, I would imagine that blue overall is going to need to be stronger than it was, or at least different from what it was in 1.0, because in this current set, I think in this current rule set, it feels like blue probably would be coming out behind other colors potentially.
We'll have to wait and see, man. It's they already showed us that the blue ogre and blue heroes being a little bit more chunky than they used to be. So we don't know. Let's see. Let's continue. Let's see what else.
So let's keep going. Lane creep deployment. This is important. I kind of touched on it, but first of all, we see the creeps for the first time. So same basic design, but the cards are now or the creeps are now 1-1, where they used to be 2-4. So again, this is not a 60% reduction in stats like they mentioned, because otherwise the creep would have more resistance than it does. It's more purely a redesign. So again, looking at the stats reduction, I'm still kind of confused about what was the actual objective of reducing the stats overall. So it's hard for me to say if it's a net positive or negative. It is what it is. Until I play the game, I think I cannot really assess it.
I was expecting for a 1-2 or 2-2, not a 1-1.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we would have deduced from the other post, right? So, yeah, I don't know.
What? Rashid is saying for you to zoom in on the art.
There's zoom in on them. What's up with art? Is there anything different in the art? It doesn't feel like. This feels like the exact same art from before.
At least the dire ones.
I can't zoom in any more than this, dudes. They're both the same. Like, this is the exact same art that we had in 1.0.
They're holding gnomes. What the fuck?
What?
They're holding gnomes.
Oh yeah, he's holding some shit. Oh, that is true. What the hell?
They're holding gnomes?
Why are they holding gnomes? What the hell?
Okay.
Is that a private joke? Where does a gnome come from?
Well, are they actually really holding something, or is the animation on they just look like they're holding stuff?
Yeah, it does look like they're holding a gnome. What the hell? Are they just trolling us, dude? They're putting gnomes in gnomes in art now.
You've been
all right.
gnomed.
I guess this is a meme that I am not aware of.
I guess.
All right. In any case, let's proceed. Lane creep deployment. Before each round, a melee creep is deployed into the leftmost empty space in each lane. All right. So that means
we got 3 creeps instead of 2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And 1 on each lane for sure, and always to the left. So they said, screw RNG. And now you get like fixed stuff.
Yeah, this is basically what it is. Now, before I comment, let's look at the hero deployment. Let's just move. All right, so basically 1 creep in every lane. They always go to the left. If there's nothing there, they will face each other. And then hero deployment. Now, just to say, this is the hero deployment at the beginning of the game. This is a flop deployment, and then in subsequent rounds, it will be you will be able to place the hero wherever you want, presumably, or I think they say it. But let's go through it. So there will be 3 steps in deployment. Now, heroes are deployed in 3 stages, as they say it. They put some new heroes here, some new cards, but let's talk about that afterwards as well. So there's Wraith King, Treant, Bounty Hunter, Mirana, Bristleback, and Timbersaw. And in the first step 1, both players will choose one of their first 3 heroes, right? And then you can choose to deploy that hero that you chose in one of the 3 middle spots. So the first step of deployment is you put your hero in the mid lane. And in the mid lane, you will be able to choose between those 3 slots that are available in the middle, right? So you can't put it where the creep's going to drop, and you can't put it to the further right. You have 3 slots. The heroes and their deployment locations are simultaneously revealed. So you will choose, and then when both players choose, you see how it drops. In the second phase, in the second step, they call it the offlane step. Each player chooses their second hero, and one player will deploy to the first lane, the other player to the third lane. So if you're looking from the normal game card perspective, where you are the player on the bottom, you will deploy to the right, and your opponent will deploy to the left. This is the so-called offlane in Dota. That's step number 2. And then once again, you choose one of those 3 slots that you have in the middle, and you will put your hero there. And then in step 3, you will be able to do the same, but for the safe lane. So players now deploy their last hero into their safe lane, the lane their opponent deployed into the previous round. You have full information about what you are facing now, so you can deploy your final hero to the most beneficial of the 3 available spots. So that means you can dodge heroes or you can face heroes, depending what your deck or what your game choice is.
Okay. So middle lane is the only lane that you actually might get screwed really hard.
Yeah,
Is that
and
it?
yeah, I think basically what it is it's the same. Mid lane ends up being the same as before, kind of, in the sense that you don't know where your opponent's going to drop it, so it's going to be basically rock paper scissors. The main difference is that you never land in front of the creep. So to me, first thing that this signals is they, like you said before, they are removing the RNG from the deployment. Because of course this was a huge complaint that people had, and there's no mention of arrows obviously as well, so it seems like arrows have completely disappeared, even though they don't specifically write that into the notes. I have mixed feelings. I think this could, okay, so my first thought is this could be interesting because it will involve some mind games, so it could end up being interesting.
You already had mind games before, right?
Well, not in the flop. The flop was purely RNG, right? You couldn't choose anything in the flop. So from that sense, at least it gives you some agency. You can decide what to do. But I have two big concerns here. One concern is that the creeps face each other all the time. So it ends up being a bit silly unless you play cards to kill your opponent's creep or to defend your own creeps or buff the creeps or whatever. It seems silly that the creeps will always face each other. But the main actual concern that I have here is that what this will lead to, at least in constructed, draft is of course a different animal, but in constructed, this seems like this will lead to more repetition. So if the creeps always land in the same, your heroes cannot face the creeps, there will be less variation in what happens. So the opening scenarios actually probably end up being more repetitive. And once you're talking about established meta decks in an established competitive environment, it feels like this might lead a little bit towards like chess openings, like once you have your deck and you know your deck really well, you will probably be able to figure out what is the best theoretical opening, and then you can just blindly keep doing that because most of the time you will know what is the best opening since there's no variation.
There'll be counters to other decks, and your best opening is A, but if you play against this deck and they do their opening, you'll have to do something different.
But
that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I concur that's pretty cool that you actually get to make a play. You get control from the start. That's nice, and I know that a lot of people hated the RNG system when the flop happened. Everyone would get their puny hero in front of Bristleback just to see them die, or you'd get blocked by creeps constantly when you were like one hit away from winning the tower. So I guess that's like a change for the overall population, that those were the ones that hated this the most. So I guess this opens up to something more interesting, although getting rid of all the RNG at the same time kind of mind boggles me, because some RNG is good, not too much, but now from what we see now, they completely removed all RNG from this.
Yeah, and what it's really sounding like is okay. Maybe this is a more similar approach to Dota, where there will be like a sacrifice lane, because the hero that you deploy in the off lane is presumably gonna get hit the hardest. So he's gonna be like in Dota, like the hero that gets the less traction in his lane. So from that sense, I guess it makes sense from maybe a flavor perspective, if you will. I see people saying that in chat as well. My concern here is that once you know your deck and all your matchups, it's gonna be clear how to deploy every time. And what that means is that you're gonna have very repetitive openings. The problem with that happening in card games, if there's no RNG, is that it will become stale and repetitive and boring faster than before, because before okay, maybe you could get a bit unlucky and that would suck, depending on which side of the table you're sitting on. But at least every scenario would be different, right? You would have to adapt and adjust, and that's I think the benefit of RNG that a lot of people don't see, is that it creates variance in a way that each game will be slightly different and therefore will progress in a slightly different way. And the reason why I keep talking about chess openings is that if the deployments are kind of predictable and repetitive, that means that the game will always develop from a very similar position or the same position even, and that concerns me because that will probably lead to people being bored of the game faster. So yeah,
I was just looking at the heroes themselves, and they made tree ant protectors so much better now.
Yeah, we can jump into that.
So, I was just I'm just doing the. I just noticed that because I was like looking at the creep, and he's like, why the fuck does he have 2 armor if he's not by a tree inside? Then I read it, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, they say later on that they've changed the way that armor works, so we don't know exactly what this works. But yeah, Treant looks like he had a buff because now he's giving armor to allies up to 2 slots away in this lane.
So we know he's going to be a middle card every single time.
Yeah, he should, unless you really need to dodge something. But 7 HP to me seems like really, really good.
So that's another thing. He wasn't scaled down, at least from defense, right? His life.
No, he had 10 HP. He was a 410, I believe.
Yeah, but you didn't. He didn't. You don't scale down 60%. But well, that's.
Yeah. I guess if anything, potentially a buff. But if you notice, like for example, Bounty was
he was a 410 or 411.
I think it was a 410. I'm pretty sure, but we can check that really quick.
Google it, Treant.
Yeah, you have a look because I have too many things open on my computer. Pretty sure it's a 410. Anyway, if he was a 410, this is a good scale down for him because I think he comes out a bit.
Yeah, he's a 410.
Yeah, so he comes out a bit benefited from this, in the sense that
I think he was 11.
Don't know. Yeah, so I guess he's going to survive most hits, as he was doing before as well. But I guess he still dies in 2 hits to most heroes. So in that sense, he's still relatively similar. The difference here will be once the items come down. I mean, we'll have to see what the items do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, otherwise fairly similar. Bounty has been reworked. He's a black 4/4 hero now. There's no Jinade anymore. He does have Track as a reactive ability. So Track used to be a signature card.
So another thing, right? There goes RNG.
Yeah, but Bounty's RNG was one of the worst sort of RNGs in the game.
Everyone hated Jinade, it's true.
Yeah, it was a coin flip.
It was a shitty mechanic.
It was a coin flip and completely uncontrollable and random. So I think these, were the types of RNGs that they truly had to get rid of. It was Bounty Jinada, it was Tithe Hunter Ravage, it was Ogre Multicasts, because these are the really frustrating sorts of RNGs that people get mad at. Probably they had to make do with the arrows as well, because there was so much complaint about the arrows, although I personally don't think it was strictly necessary, but at least they get rid of all the complaints in that regard. In any case, now Track is a reactive ability. We don't know what his signature card is, but Bounty Hunter deals +3 damage when attacking tracked heroes. On deploy, track Bounty Hunter's target if it's a hero. Tracked units have +5 bounty. So this is a scale down on gold, which it's hard to analyze once again. I mean, we have seen Sheepstick costing 25, so it's a bit surprising that gold would be scaled down. But since the ability is on deploy now and no longer a signature card, probably it makes sense to make it less explosive, I guess.
So we know that Bounty Hunter is a sacrifice card now.
Well, Bounty Hunter is probably a good hero to play in your safe lane, where if you play it on our 3rd step, then you know if it's going to kill your opponent or not, then you can choose to dodge it or not. You know what I mean?
My question is, do you actually get to know well, you know which heroes he's going to play, right? Because when you start the game, they show you the 5 heroes the deck
Yeah,
has and the order they're going to go out.
definitely.
So
Yeah.
you'll know that when he plays the first hero, there's only the other two are left, and you know if Bounty Hunter actually gets to kill both or only one of them. So you have to play with that. But I'd guess that Bounty Hunter with 7 damage will kill anything. At least from what I see, all the heroes right here, even the red ones being the fatty ones,
Yeah.
he's gonna kill anything. So, ouch.
So it could be a buff because before he didn't used to kill everything. Like the 12 HP heroes could survive him. I guess Wraith King doesn't die, but he doesn't die to anything. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's looking good. Yeah,
Gondar is gonna get so much hate now.
He's gonna be a good hero, presumably. Gondar and Mirana. So the black heroes seem quite spicy from what we've seen so far.
It would be nice if they put the real names, right? Not the real names, but the card's actual name, and then
Sure. Yeah.
Bounty Hunter after.
Sure.
Because most people don't know the card names.
It's possible that they avoid doing that because if they do subsequent versions, like new versions in the future, they might want to call it something else. But whatever, these are all placeholders anyway. We cannot really say yet. So Mirana, we've seen Bristleback shows up here for the first time in his new form, and he's now a 4/5.
He got hit pretty hard.
Well, his power is 50%. His HP is about probably about 40%. No, 50. No, so you had 12. He's down to 5. Yeah, about 40% probably. So he got nerfed significantly.
Pretty hard.
Yeah, I guess new players kind of hated Bristleback because he would kill everything and not die to anything.
He was a snowball hero. That was the biggest issue.
He was a beefy hero, yeah. So let's see what he does now. He's got two abilities. One of them is a passive or reactive, as they call it, and the other one...
So no more armor. Yep. No more armor. That's good.
And the second ability is an active ability. So Bristleback is his reactive ability. When Bristleback takes damage outside of combat, reduce that damage to 1 and then activate Quill Spray. So similar to his actual ability in Dota, but just doesn't affect combat, only outside of combat damage. This is great, like against Luna Eclipse or stuff like that. But let's see, Quill Spray, active ability, active with a 3-turn cooldown, costs 1 mana to activate, deal 1 combat damage to adjacent enemies. So one thing to note, first of all, is Quill Spray kills creeps instantaneously. So this looks really strong, I'm gonna think.
Yeah. Well, if they want to go the Dota way, they should have said that the 1 combat damage that he deals would go through armor, right? Because Quill Spray is the true damage.
I'm not sure of. I haven't played Dota recently enough to say, but it did stack in Dota, so you could stack Quill Spray. If an opponent had a charge, the second one would deal more damage, etc.
So this is cool because he has 2 abilities, right?
Yeah, this is really cool in the sense that he has 2 abilities.
He used to have 1.
Yeah, he used to have the one where if his opponent in front of him would die, he would gain 2 armor.
No, Valve, you should have done this for every card, not just one.
Yeah, so this I think is a good change in the sense that there's more abilities and they kind of interact with each other. That's cool. Yeah, it's tough to say how strong that the Quill Spray ability will be. I will notice, for example, that Bristleback's reactive says if he takes damage outside of combat. It doesn't say anything about the source of damage, so presumably you could deal damage. You could deal damage to your own Bristleback to activate Quill Spray, presumably, which might lead to some sort of cool combos with him. I'm not sure how you would do that, but
you're gonna ping your hero like 10 times. Well, not 10 times. You got as max.
Yeah,
depends on how much armor and health you give him. But if there's a card that you can ping him until a creature dies or something like that, you're gonna clear the board.
Yeah, I mean, since a lot of heroes are gonna have 4 HP, and Bristle has 5 without items, I mean, presumably he can deal a lot of damage to enemy heroes before he dies. He can surely clear creep waves, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, missing in 2142 is actually questioning if the automatic use of the ability would trigger the cooldown on the quill spray.
I doubt it.
Yeah, that would kind of make the card really, really bad. Because you'd, as an opponent, you'd actually try to trigger it in a phase where you could control it, and always lock down your opponent from being able to use it as their favor. So I don't think that would ever happen.
No, and also in Dota, it's not related one thing to the other.
Yeah, it's like a defensive mechanism the hero has as a tank.
All right, so last up is Timbersaw, also been reworked. He no longer has the passive ability of giving and taking armor away, but he starts with... Oh, I just noticed that he has an uncommon symbol. I wonder if that'll likely just be removed, right? That's just a remain of the old card, probably. So 4 power, 1 armor, 6 HP. His ability, so his sole ability is Timber Chain, active ability, active with a 3 turn round cooldown and 1 mana activation. Seems like most abilities cost 1 mana now. Move Timbersaw up to 5 slots away, deal 1 damage to each enemy passed on the way. And I will say, because I was reading beforehand, that Valve, I think Eric Tams posted on Reddit that this 5 slots away includes cross lane. So
cross lane?
Yeah. So this is a pure mobility skill, like he can cross lane and kill all the creeps on the way and deal damage.
He looks like such a cool card to use now.
Now he looks much better. The
I really like.
was bad.
Yeah, I liked the card so much before, and he wasn't as strong as I wish he was to be able to play competitively until Mono Red started showing up and he got a place on the meta. But he looks so much fun now, and he looks like one of those mind games card now, where you go like, okay, you can place him on the edge of the lane and always keep your opponent thinking, will he go and clean all my lane now?
Mm-hmm.
He looks. I really liked this mechanic. One thing you were saying is all cards seem to cost 1 mana to use abilities. The other thing is, if you notice, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but all the usable abilities have a 3 cooldown.
Yeah, that was my next point. Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think it's cool. It's at least it's balanced, you know. As long as no card has like super broken OP ability, like for example, you remember Tinker would do Sniper would do 5 damage.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 5 turns.
No, it was 3 turns. No, wait, 3? I think it was 3. Yeah, it's 3.
3 turns. So doing 5 damage every 3 turns would be a little bit more broken. Compared to doing 1 damage to adjacent minion. It
would have to be scaled down like all the other abilities, so it would have to be like 2 damage or something.
If everything has a 3 turn cooldown and all the things are pretty much balanced, that looks okay, because that looks, for me, that's okay.
All right. I mean, this is just like the probably the base cooldown will be 3, and then of course there will be heroes with stronger and weaker abilities that can be spammed. So we will see. But I am liking the hero design changes. There's more.
And I really like to see 2 skills on Bristleback. That's pretty nice.
It really shows that there might be more interaction, more movement, and that's very likely a good thing. So. Let's progress, and we can talk about how the heroes replace each other and so on. I'm just trying to find where that is in the text. So they say hero deployment subsequent rounds. You still get an additional hero to deploy in the 2nd and 3rd rounds, plus any hero that returns from the fountain. Later deployments have no restrictions on where heroes can be deployed. Okay, so this step deployment is just for the beginning of the game. Then after that, you can play them wherever, and I presume also including on the far right and on the far left if the spot is available. No, actually, so yeah, it's not clear if the creep always deploys on the left. do you choose where the hero goes first? Or does the creep always go on the left? So if you want to put a hero on the left, does it squash the creep?
From what they say, the first round, a melee creep is deployed into the leftmost empty space. So if you have stuff on the first slot, he will go on the second if it's free, or the third if it's free.
But it's not clear if the when you make the deployment, let's say on round 2, and if you want to put your hero on the left, it will deploy at the same time as the creep. Probably the creep will go on the right of the hero.
The creep is always deployed first.
So in that case, if you want to put your hero on the left, you have to suicide your creep. All right, let's read.
Yes.
Yeah, let's read the additional placement rules. Deploying a hero on top of another hero will bounce the old hero to deploy next turn. So he goes to the fountain and he comes back again. This is an interesting mechanic. Yeah, this is interesting. This might be abusable somehow.
Do you feel like giving the possibilities of doing town portals every time you feel like it on a hero deploy? I don't know.
We'll see. It's difficult without playing the game, right? But it sounds like this might be exploitable somehow.
Well, you get locked down of a color if it's a different color, but you know he won't die and stay 2 turns in the fountain.
Yeah. Well, it also raises more questions because if you have upkeep effects that deal damage or whatever, so if a hero is going to get upkeep killed, you can presumably save him by bouncing him.
That's pretty much it.
That's really strong.
Either that, or if you know you don't have initiative, if that still exists, you get well, it has to exist some way, right? Because someone has to play first, so you know there will have to be some kind of initiative.
Yep.
So either up to if upkeep kills, or if he has initiative, and you know, if, let's say he's playing black and most likely he's going to kill your hero, you can abuse it and just bounce it back.
Yeah, for sure. So that's an interesting new mechanic. Now, deploying a hero on top of a creep will destroy the creep. So yeah, presumably, like we were saying, if you want to deploy your hero on the far left, on the first slot, you will kill your creep every time. That's kind of a feels bad, but it's not stated exactly, so I don't know.
It's not totally feels bad. Can you imagine if they make cards like when creep X dies, give less to your target or something? You might do decks thinking about suicide creeps.
For sure. So it's potentially something that you can use for your favor as well. But but for a deck that doesn't want to exploit that, it might be a bit awkward. But we'll see. When you play creep card, you can choose the exact slot in the lane to deploy it into. Playing a creep on top of a unit will destroy that unit. Presumably not heroes, right? Can you kill a hero with a creep? I mean, heroes are units.
Probably you just deploy a hero on top of another hero, bounce a hero. But they never say if you place a creep on top of a hero, what happens. Probably it doesn't let you. It will just... Possible. Either that or they forgot to mention it here, but I would expect that it doesn't let you put a creep on top of a hero.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, because if you have a lane with only one hero and then you would play a creep and suicide your hero, that would be very awkward, I think. So probably that's right. Probably you will not be able to deploy a creep. Although it does say you can choose the exact slot in the lane. I'm confused. It's not completely clear here what this means.
Playing a creep on top of a unit will destroy that unit.
Heroes are units, so...
I guess.
It would be weird to be...
So heroes just do tag team and creeps will kill heroes. That's kind of weird.
This one is hard to interpret. Probably is one of these things where they are still playing around with this.
Lucky Bo just says it's like a deny.
Well, but in Artifact 1 at least, if you denied your own hero, your opponent would still get gold. So it wouldn't be a real deny. Unless you want to deny yourself. So Great, and this is basically it. There's a couple more sentences, additional notes. Armor works differently from the base game, but it doesn't explain at all what that means. And like I said before, tower health is dependent upon the game mode without further clarification. So a lot to take in, but we're getting a clearer image of the game. What do you think?
Aside from removing all the RNG from this part, because like I said, I'm okay with removing RNG because I know I got screwed a lot by it. I got benefited by it a lot. But giving people more control is cool. Just removing it completely is just something I wouldn't like to see. Because I know it was part of the game, okay? And we had this conversation that RNG is good if you have it in small amounts. But if you have like RNG on top of RNG on top of some more RNG, and the stars align and you get screwed, like you lost the game almost in the second turn. I'd like that they wouldn't remove it completely, but from this example that they give us here, I can see that RNG is completely removed. So I don't know. Other than that, everything looks nice and interesting, except for the 5 slots. But like we said, they're making it mobile friendly, and something had to give. And I guess having 20 cards on a single lane would be something most mobiles wouldn't be able to handle.
Yeah, I'm slightly pessimistic here because while I think mobile is very important, I feel like it's probably a bad move to be affecting the game because of mobile. Because first you want to have a solid game, you want to have a game that people like, and I think you want to keep the soul of the first game in the sense that the game is deep and strategically varied and stuff. And I'm just concerned because I've seen this mechanic in other games. Like, if I've never played Artifact before, I mean, it's super hard for me as a long hauler to be trying to assess this fresh. Like, my mind is just too biased, I guess. But if you're a mobile player, you've never played Artifact before, like, you need to feel like this game brings you something different. And then if it's just going to be 3 boards Gwent or 3 board HS, I don't know.
Yeah, but don't forget something. If they actually going to make us play all 3 lanes at the same time, having like 20 cards on the table on one lane and 15 on the second lane and another 10 on a third lane could be really hard to
for sure.
Time constraint. So maybe they did it so it would be friendlier for mobile, but so you can also play 3 lanes at the same time, and being able to focus. Okay, this is my table. This is what I'm seeing right now is what I need to be concerned about. If you had like hidden lanes all over the place, not lanes, but hidden cards where you had to pull left, right with your mouse or something,
sure,
it will make you lose more time. So maybe doing it this way was their way to make it more simplified for us to control 3 lanes at the same time.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I completely understand the reason for doing it. My only concern is that by constraining the possibilities in the game and limiting your options and limiting the size of the board and so on, while also simultaneously removing RNG, I feel like they might just be transforming the game a bit too much. Personally, I could be wrong, and until I play the game, I won't know for sure. But just right now, I feel like this might be too much. So that's the question that I'm kind of raising, is just this might be too much. If the game is going to be available on mobile, but it's not going to appeal to me or be as innovative as 1.0 was, because that was the whole thing. Was this is going to be like the big card game, and for me it was a great game despite all the problems that it had. And now if you're going to dump it down or restrict it because of mobile, I feel like that might be a mistake, because that's going to probably push away people on PC on the other hand, and also people who are looking for a deeper, more strategic card game, they're also going to be pushed away probably, because it looks like once you remove all these RNG pieces, the RNG that remains probably will, first of all, be more important because it will play a bigger role since there are less instances of RNG. And second, I feel like the games might become too repetitive. Like I said, the chess opening type thing, where probably the openings will be very repetitive. But
I think that's why they put so much more effort now on cards that can go cross lanes, right?
For sure, no, for sure, for sure.
That's what that will make the games less repeatable per se. Because if you cross lane, you're gonna change the movements and the plays that you do after. I understand. I'm on the same boat as you. As in, RNG would make games different. Every game would be different. Nothing would be exactly the same. But I guess if they get a lot of feedback on alpha or beta testing that 5 is not enough and the game essence is not there anymore or something like that, they might think about it or consider it or not give a fuck and just go with what they have. But
yeah, so basically the conclusion is give me a beta key so that I can test the game and let you guys know what all right. Yeah, so I'm really happy that once again that they put out a new post. I think now we can safely assume that when they are releasing a post in Easter weekend, we can safely assume that there's going to be a post every week. So this is like actually really huge. And it's also really, really huge that they are sharing all this stuff with us. Now we can go on Reddit, we can go on Twitter, we can go or whatever and say what we think. And then we will see. I mean, it will be a more democratic process, if nothing else. Whether the end product will be better or worse remains to be seen. Yeah, we will be here to analyze all the posts and discuss and share our opinions with you guys. Even if you don't agree with us, I would love to hear about it in the YouTube posts or in your podcast reviews and so on. So by all means, let us know what you think. If you want to come in our Discord, we are talking about this basically all the time because we're crazy like that. And yeah, I think otherwise we'll leave it at that for today, dude. Or do you have any other topics you want to talk about?
No other topics. Was just reading again really fast to see if there's something we're missing.
Well, the gnomes thing now really makes me wonder where the hell
it made you switch.
What the hell, man? I still have to go on Reddit to look for those gnomes, see what people come up with. Because in the main post picture, there's no, like, there's all the meepos and Tinker. There's no gnomes in the main picture. All right. So I think that's that. Thanks very much for joining us on Twitch. And otherwise, like I said, drop a follow and let us know what you thought. Cheers, man.
Cheers, man. See you next time.